Alright, hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of my Zero to Hero Become a Legend series in, of course, Pro Evolution Soccer 2019. Now, if you've not seen the previous episodes, you should probably go back on my channel and watch them first. If you have, and for some strange reason you're not already subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button, and whilst you're here you might as well hit the like button on this video as well. But if you have watched the previous episodes, you'll be more than aware of the fact that this is going to be our first match of the new J1 League season. And as you can tell, unfortunately, despite, I think, some decent performances in pre-season, the gaffer has decided not to start us in our first league game. But despite me not starting, we got off to an absolute flyer. Delgado with a shot on goal, saved by the opposition goalkeeper. I mean, you're going to have to excuse me, I don't know the team's name off the top of my head. But up stepped Onaga, lovely strike from the edge of the box. Yokohama F. Marinos is the team's name. But yeah, great finish there from the defensive midfielder who actually didn't come in for me, but was playing alongside me in the last pre-season game. But as time really developed, it became clear that some of the patterns, some of the problems that we were really seeing defensively in pre-season were potentially going to cause problems during the league as well. The opposition constantly playing diagonal balls. You can see the amount of room they've currently got down that left-hand side. But despite that, some lovely footwork from Yamada, played in Edgar Jr., who is a small kind of pacey Brazilian type striker who was really causing our three centre-backs problems all day, because there's just absolutely no pace, unfortunately, in our back three. And talking about that pace, that there is a glimpse of the type of through ball that was causing us problems all afternoon. And yeah, they found the equaliser eventually. Great header on goal from Endo. But again, questions have to be asked of our defence. I'm not quite sure why our centre-back wasn't goal side of the striker there. And when you defend like that, unfortunately, you're going to lose. You're going to concede goals. We came out into the second half, but unfortunately, I think half our team forgot themselves in the dressing room, because the opposition were the ones who really came out full throttle and took the lead. 1-0 down, and suddenly we were the team who were 2-1 down. Edgar Jr. once again beating the offside trap. Look at this for a first touch. Lovely jubbly. And, credit where it's due to the striker. That's not an easy chance to put away. And, yeah, all I could really do on a personal note is kind of just look on from the bench. And obviously it is really frustrating that we are currently out of favour with the manager for some strange reason. Yeah, and it didn't take long after the second goal for Edgar Jr. to get his hat-trick. And he claims, not his hat-trick, sorry, he does actually get a hat-trick come the end of the match. Spoiler alert, his second of the match, and then he'll get the match ball at the end of the game, which gives a lot away. And despite that not being his third goal to complete the hat-trick, I think the defending speaks for itself. But anyways, we mentioned in the last episode that I had a funny feeling that, because we're quite a versatile player, we might end up playing away from the defensive midfielder position coming off the bench in the future, particularly out wide, because obviously wide players tire quicker. And we did indeed get substituted out on the right wing. But as you can kind of see, again, this is something I mentioned in the last episode, it's a bit confusing with the wide shadow strikers, because it kind of feels like I should be the one hugging the touchline, and he should be the one cutting inside, and I should be threading through balls to him. But the movement off the ball sometimes is really weird, so I'm not sure if he's going to do it here towards the left-hand side. For me, he should be getting up front, trying to make a run between kind of the fullback and centre-back for me to play him forwards. So, yeah, not only kind of time is needed for me to get used to this new kind of impact position off the bench, but also time for my teammates to get used to how I want to play that position as well. But yeah, 3-1 down. I wasn't really looking to kind of reinvent the wheel coming on. I had to do a lot of defensive work, and I think I got a bit too excited for my for my league debut. Yellow card, despite only being on the pitch for really 15 minutes or so. Ball came out wide, ball got whipped in, and Edgar Jr., ladies and gents, claimed the match ball. A hat-trick for the Brazilian. And I think that expression from our centre-back really says it all for the defending. It's quite phenomenal, really. You look at the number of white bodies in the box and the number of blue bodies in the box, and questions have to be asked as to what on earth our defenders are doing. So very confusing. Good link-up play between myself and Yamanka, and then the ball got whipped in, but unlike in our box, the opposition team can actually defend in their box. Our next league game is actually an away game as well. Now, let's bear in mind we are the weakest team on the game. So, regardless of whether we're the weakest team on the game or not, we're still the weakest team in this league. So we are kind of expected to finish bottom of the league. Second cross into the box there from me. Should have probably gotten finished off. So, every game for us, realistically, is going to be a struggle. It's just that from my perspective, obviously, the more I can play, the more of an impact I feel like I can have. And we were really, really fortunate there not to get sent off on our league debut, which definitely would have been one for the history books. Fortunately, though, the referee let us off. We were 4-1 down, and he didn't want to really add to our misery. And here we go. 1-2s in the wide areas, trying to link up with the shadow strikers and the front striker. Create those 2 versus 1 situations that allow me to whip the ball into the box. I think that was my 3rd or 4th cross since coming on from the bench. So it goes to show that I can be a decent impact substitute, but the finish just wasn't quite there from Suzuki. And just before the full-time whistle went, it looked like I'd given away a penalty, but once again the referee did us a favour and let us off. But there we go, 4-1 the score, deservedly lost, and our rating coming off the bench was a mere 5.5. Next up, like I said, another away game up against Jubilo Iwata, who, wasted absolutely little to no time to basically break the deadlock, which is unsurprising. Again, you guys are going to hear me moaning a lot about our defence, and I'm sure with the next few episodes to come, you'll start to realise why. Now, Kawamata, wonderful finish from him, but not just poor defending, but it makes you wonder whether or not the goalkeeper should have got beat from that kind of angle too. And once again, there's only so much I can do, kind of watching from the bench, just kind of wishing the gaffer would substitute me on. We wanted revenge, though. We wanted to try and pull a goal back sooner rather than later, but unfortunately Tokuyanga, who's apparently a better choice at right midfield to me, dribbles the ball out of play. Despite going 1-0 down early on, though, we did eventually hit back, which wasn't really too surprising, because as I've said this before, I will say it again, going forwards, we've actually not been too shabby. And once again, none other than Marilla on the score sheet. And it's kind of frustrating because, if I was on the pitch, I'd probably be involved in some of these attacking moves. There is a voice in the back of my head making me wonder whether or not giving ourselves 50 overall is going to bite us in the backside. But anyways, 2 minutes after we'd equalised, we'd conceded again. And you're going to get used to kind of seeing this. And the problem is, our players aren't that great, but relative to some of the teams or defenders that some of the opposition sides have, they're not that bad. I mean, we still have one centre-back who's 70 overall, who's really good. Like, 70 overall is really decent for this league. But the main issue for me is tactically. The 3 centre-backs clearly in training they're not being drilled correctly. The ball is constantly from opposing teams being put into the wide areas. And just like this, they're able to play the low cross into the box. The striker should not be able to turn our defender in that kind of scenario and should not be able to score so easily. We managed once again to pull a goal back. And this is what this 3 at the back system kind of gives us. It's really good going forwards, but defensively we suffer so much in the wide areas. And whilst I kind of looked good in the previous match going forwards in the right midfielder role, the issue is that it's more of a wing-backy style role. So I can't focus on doing what I do best, which is getting forwards and trying to create goal-scoring opportunities, because a lot of the time I've also got to try and track back and basically help the centre-backs out. But anyways, we tried a bit of trickery there. Obviously, we're going in search of the equalising goal, but instead we ended up on our backsides, and really the opposition should have made it 4-2 there. So playing out the back, we pick the ball up. Once again, like we saw in the last game, it's important we can create passing triangles, play 1-2s around the opposition defenders, get me on the ball as much as possible. And yeah, decent play between me and my teammate, but it does end up going out for a corner. And this here is an example of the type of defensive work we have to do, because we don't have a fullback behind us, so it is all about finding that right balance. Once again, we pick the ball up down the right wing. We whipped the ball in, and unfortunately, our big number 9 did jump for the ball. It was a really inviting cross. I think he just about managed to get a touch on it, but the touch just wasn't enough to direct the opportunity on goal. Another really good opportunity. I go for the underlap, but I just can't get the ball. 3 minutes or so to go, excluding added time. The goalkeeper plays the ball out wide to us. You can see the amount of room we have in the wide area. That's one of the things I like about being a relatively pacey merchant. So you can see the logic as to why the gaffer is bringing us off the bench. But ideally, I would like to be starting games centrally, playing perhaps just off the 2 strikers. That's where I probably feel like, in the whole, I can be at my most effective. Another chance there. We try to dribble through. 93rd minute, last kick of the game. Up I step to get my first professional assist in Nagasaki colours. Suzuki, second goal of the game. Put the afterburners on. To be brutally honest, whilst the pass was all right from me, it was poor defending from the opposition centre-back, really, because if you take a look at the replay, I'm not really quite sure how Suzuki managed to beat the centre-back to it. It was a lovely first touch from him, though, somewhat reminiscent of that Brazilian Edison Jr., I can't remember what he's called now, something Jr. From the last game, and yeah, it was nice to know that my impact off the bench got us an extra point, otherwise we would have lost yet another game. And despite only playing about 30 minutes, my rating was 8.0. So at the end of February, we played 2 games and we have 1 point, so we are in the bottom half of the table. And my average rating is a 6.4.